This is my friend Sarah, and I met her about 6-7 years ago when she came with her husband to the Vancouver church as our associate pastor. They had 3 little boys in tow, and we fell in love with them and have loved them ever since. Sarah, you're not a born Northwesterner. You grew up in Oklahoma.
I did grow up in Oklahoma.
And tell us about your family. I know you were not an Adventist Christian going up.
No.
So what did you come from?
I did grow up in Oklahoma, which is the heart of the Bible Belt, and I grew up going to the Methodist church with my mom and my siblings. My dad didn't really have a whole lot to do with church. He would come to our special programs on Christmas and Easter, but other than that, he really didn't have anything to do with church.
But you went pretty regularly.
We did. We went every Sunday, and, then I thought that was being a good Christian, that going to church every Sunday and, being there and singing and going to Sunday school, that's what Christians did.
Well, now, your life changed a little bit when you went to high school because you met somebody that was pretty cute.
I did. I met a boy.
And
I met my husband.
He wasn't her husband then.
No, he wasn't. But we got married the summer that I graduated from high school in 1994.
But before that, you already found out that he was a different kind of Christian.
I did. We were talking after we'd been dating, and we were talking about religion, and he said that he was a Seventh-day Adventist.
Hold your mic up just a little.
And I had never, ever heard of a Seventh-day Adventist before, ever. And I thought, what's so different about Seventh-day Adventists? And he shared a few things with me and said, well, we believe in this seventh-day Sabbath. I was like, well, what is that? He said, well, we go to church on Saturday. And I remember thinking, that is so weird.
But the truth is that she liked him.
I did.
He was not weird.
No, and when he would come home from college, I would go to church with him on Sabbaths.
Now, what was your mother thinking about this time? Remember, she's a Methodist and a good Methodist.
My mom couldn't really understand why I would want to go to church on Sabbath since I was raised a good little Methodist girl. But she didn't really question me too much. She didn't fight me on it. Gene was a very nice boy, and my parents really liked him a lot. So they were okay with it.
So as soon as you graduated, you got married.
We did.
And what was your plan with Gene? What was your intention, your life plan?
Gene had everything all figured out. He was going to own his own business and retire early and play lots of golf.
And for a while, that was pretty good.
It was.
You became an X-ray tech.
I did. I went to school. He was working at our local Votech, and I went to school there and graduated with my rad tech.
And you moved a lot.
We did move a lot.
And on your 5th move, that was a special move.
It was. That was where we really saw that God was speaking to us.
Well, now back up to when you were watching television one Sabbath, Saturday to you morning, and what happened? You're living in Little Rock, by the way.
We had just moved to Little Rock, and we'd been there for almost a week, so we were eating breakfast and sitting in the living room watching television.
Now, let me stop here because she told me that every time they moved to a different town, they did a drive-by of where the local Adventist church was. They didn't necessarily go, but they drove by to see where it was. So now they're in Little Rock, and on this Sabbath morning...
Yes, and we had done the drive-by when we moved to Little Rock, too. But we're sitting there watching TV, and my husband started flipping through the channel. Guys like to flip through the channels. And we had decided that we weren't going to get cable TV because there wasn't really anything on, and we thought we'll just save the money. So we're flipping through the television channels, and we come across 3ABN. And we were vaguely familiar with 3ABN, but we thought you could only get 3ABN with a satellite dish.
Are you catching the miracle? They don't have satellite, but here it is.
Yeah, and Gene's parents had it, and that's the only way we knew that you could get it. So we're thinking, God is sending us a satellite signal so that we can watch 3ABN. We later learned that it was a local channel, but still.
So what happened that morning? You're watching it.
So we're watching this young man's testimony, and it really spoke to my husband because he was raised Adventist. And we're watching, and he turned and looked at me, and he said, "Sarah, I think we should go to church."
And what did you do? You're a Methodist.
I was, but I said, "Okay."
You know why Sarah told me she did that? Because remember back then, wives did what they were told.
So we went to church. We got ready, and we drove to the local church. We slipped in the back, and we sat in the back pew. And I don't really remember a whole lot from the church service, but our intention was to slip back out like we slipped in. But the greeters caught us. And
good for you, greeters.
Invited us back for the next week. So we're at home the following week, and we're watching 3ABN, and we find ourselves back at church on Sabbath morning.
And what happened that day?
That week, a very precious family to us now invited us home for lunch. That family was very instrumental.
That family was the tool that God used to bring them to Jesus.
It was, and it truly was a miracle. You know, we really had no intention of having a relationship with anyone at the church at that time. We thought this was a rather large church, so we could kind of be incognito.
And aren't you glad that God knew what you did not know? And God saw the future. But thank God for people that are friendly in church, amen? Yes. People that sit by someone, invite them home.
That's right.
And that's what they did. They took them home. They loved them into Jesus. Sarah, I want you to fast forward because today her husband is a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. He pastors Rockwood. Any Rockwood people here? Any Rockwood? Yep, there's some. They're waving at you. How did you get from that point to the point that he was going to be a pastor? You were baptized.
I was baptized while we were at the Rockwood Church.
Not at the Rockwood. Oh, Little Rock.
Yeah, Little Rock, I'm sorry. And we absolutely loved it there. My husband had a business partner, and the business closed in Little Rock, and we moved back to Stillwater. And my husband later shared with me that there have been several people who had talked to him and said, you know, Gene, I think that you've missed your calling. You should be a pastor. He just forgot to tell me about it. So, needless to say, he finally shares with me that, you know, he feels like God is calling him to go to the seminary. And I thought, gosh, I don't want to go to the seminary. I don't even, you know, what do you do at seminary? I don't want to give up all these great things to go to seminary.
I thought it was interesting that she told me, remember when she said that their goal was to have a good job and make money? They sold everything to go to seminary. They gave it all up to go to seminary.
We had one car and $2,000 left.
Yeah, yeah. That's what God does when he shakes your life, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So what happened when he told you that he wanted to be a pastor? Did you faint and fall over, or what happened?
I didn't. I just said, okay. When inside, I really wasn't very excited. Seminary was a wonderful time and a wonderful place for us. We met some wonderful, wonderful people, and I wouldn't change any of it for anything. You know, we went through some hard times too. We had a miscarriage, and my father passed away.
Her father passed away 10 years ago today. This is her anniversary. I know their hearts are all with you, because that's a hard remembrance, you know.
It is, but there's also been so many blessings. You know, we added two more boys to our family since then, one at seminary, and it's just been wonderful, you know, and my daily devotions have
I was just going to ask you, what's been the best thing?
Yeah, my daily devotions have been the key. I don't know how I could have made it through all of that without a relationship with God.
Yeah. So what has been the biggest change in your life?
Just trust and hope. Mm-hmm. You know, before I didn't really truly have hope. Now I have hope in Jesus. He's going to come again. He's going to wipe all our tears away, and we're going to get to be reunited with our loved ones.
I'm so glad that God had a plan for your life.
I am
and
too.
you were willing to do it. Thank you.